Are you having sleepless night because your property is about to be repossessed? Or perhaps you may know someone going through repossession. My name is David Adewale. In this video, I'll be sharing with you how we can work with you to help you stop your property from being repossessed. Before I go any further, I would like to give a brief introduction about myself. My name is David Adewale. I'm a property investor in the UK. I have properties and other investment outside UK. However, because I live in UK, I focus more on the UK market and because I understand the market much better. I also source for properties for property investors like myself that are looking to either build passive income on a long-term basis for using property, or they want just short-term return on their investment. So I actually work more to understand individual goals of my investors, and then we take it from there. I'm the co-director of Elswap Properties Limited. Elswap Properties Limited is a UK registered company. We are fully registered and fully regulated, and also we are compliant as well. So we deal with properties, sales, and also rental as well. I'm married and I have 2 children. So let's go into the video. What is property repossession? Now you could go into, or you can go on YouTube, or you could go on Google, and you find different definition about what repossession is. But I've actually broken it down to a very simple definition that anyone can read and make sense of, hopefully. So repossession is a term used to describe the taking back of property after a borrower has defaulted on payments, or they have failed to complete the payment on what was owed. So you borrow some money to buy property, and then you've been missing your payments on your mortgage rather, and so the banks has warned you, but you still haven't been able to fulfill it. Chances are the property can be repossessed. And also, it could be either you at the end of the term of the property, the mortgage term, you've not been able to pay off what was owed. There is also chances that the property can be repossessed, which is why I come right here. So you can be asking me, so how can this apply to me? Now, repossession does not have any respect for anybody. So it could be, you could be, I don't know, you could be in your 60s, you could be in your 70s or whatever, you could be even in your 20s. As long as you've got a property and you have mortgage on the property and you've broken the terms that you've taken the mortgage on, there are chances that the property can be repossessed of you. So I've listed a few things right now, which I mentioned earlier, that if you miss your payment consistently on the mortgage, there are chances that the property can be taken off you. And also, if you come to the end of the term of the mortgage that you've taken, and you've not been able to pay off what was owed, I'm talking about the interest and also what you took the mortgage for, there are chances that the property can also be repossessed. And sometimes people take secured loan. I mean, secured loan is when you actually go and take loan outside of your mortgage, and then you tie that to your house, saying that, all right, I've got this property, so I'm similar to some countries, they use it as collateral, for example. And then they say, I've got this property, and I want you to give me, to loan me £20,000. And so they put a charge on the property, which means that when it comes to you selling that property or whatever it is, you have to pay them first. Some of the loan that you've actually owed, the loan that you've borrowed, and this also could prevent your property from being sold rather. So there are many other reasons why properties can be repossessed. However, I'm not going to go into detail of that, but I'm going to give a case studies on this video. So this is just a simple example of, and it's quite common actually in the UK. So I'm going to use a lady, let's just say Miss Z. Miss Z decided to buy a first property on her 30th birthday in the year 2000, right? She turned 30 and she said, all right, I've saved enough money for me to actually buy my first property. Now, see, she found a property, whatever way she found property, property, and property was 200,000 pounds. Now she could only afford 20,000 pounds. That's what she has saved all through the time. And they said, well, 20,000 pounds is what I have. So what she could do right now is that she decided to go to the bank or whosoever she decided to take the money from, and then take a loan. We call it LTV. That's loan to value, which is in this case right now she had 200,000 pounds for the property rather, and then she had 20,000 pounds for deposit, which means she still has 180,000 pounds. Obviously, there are other bills that still have like stamp duty and other things that go into, but I'm not going into details of that. So let's just do 180,000 pounds of a lender with a 25 years term on the property. Okay, so the interest is 4% per annum, and then where the calculation comes to 633 3 pence if she were to go to do interest only on this property. But she decided to do repayment, which is where she's paying her interest on the property, and then she's given a little bit of money to the lender and say, I'm using this to pay off some of my loans. And so that's what she decided, and everything comes to £860 per month. That's what she paid on a repayment plan. So what then happened is in 2008 there was recession. Now, this recession, during this recession, many people actually lost their jobs, many businesses were closed down, and similar to what we have in COVID-19 right now, period. So what then happened was she was made redundant from her job. And then she contacted our mortgage lenders and then say, all right, I don't think I can afford to do £860 per month, which I was doing before. I would like to go on interest only right now. I mean, there wasn't any mortgage holiday like we have right now in COVID-19, but you know, that was what the case was. So she decided to go for interest only, but then the interest had increased, right? And then if you notice, she bought it in 2000 and now it's 2008, which is 8 years apart from with the time she started the journey. So now our mortgage has now reduced to £168,239 and a few pence. That's because she's been doing repayments and she's been paying some money towards the loan that she took initially, which was £180,000. Now the property in 2008, as we usually have, property value tend to go up over time. Now this property is now worth £225,000, £225,000 as of 2008. Which then means that Ms. Z now has an equity of £56,760 in the property, so that the £20,000 she paid before and plus the extra that's actually gone up, which is so now value of property is 225, and she was owing £168,000. So that's how we're able to get the equity. That's how to calculate equity. Now she now has 17 years left on the mortgage term. Our monthly repayment now for going on interest only is £581, right? That's what she's paying. So now 5 months down the line, Ms. Z now got another job. She was excited and everything. However, she thought of herself, which many people we do as well. You know, when you thought, oh, I've just been through a redundancy or whatever it is, or and then sometimes you find it really hard to move on, and you know the events, the memory of it is still there. So I decided to go to the lender and said, I'm going to keep my property on interest only. I'm just going to leave it at interest only. I don't want to move it. I want to save some money. I mean, the 200 or over £200 or whatever it is I've been paying towards payment, I'm going to hold it to myself to sort out other things for myself. Now we are in 2020, so which means 20 years down the line, Ms. Z is now 60 years old. And now, because she took it the mortgage on a 25 years term, she now has 5 more years to pay off a mortgage, and then she knows that she's free of mortgage completely. Or is that the case? Let's find out. So she don't forget she stayed at paying interest only, but the property is now worth 270. now because it's been 12 years now from 2008, which was 225, now is 2020 is now 270,000 pounds. So she bought the property in a very good location as well. Now, she still owes 168,000 pounds. Why? That's because she opted for interest only and she had not changed or moved to repayment plan. Now she has an equity of 101,000 pounds and 706 property in terms of equity. And how we got that is 270,000 pounds minus what was owed, which is that's the figure. Now there are problems right here. Now Ms. Z has 5 more years to pay off her loan. She's still owing 168,000 pounds. Over all of these years, she's been doing interest only. And then she has 5 years. Now that is where the issue is. Okay, now she's approaching the time for her to retire. And obviously she can't afford 168,000 pounds unless something happens. So she's tried lottery and everything, but she's still not getting it. It's just not going to happen. Which is the case. Many people actually find themselves that, all right, I've been doing interest only, and but they forget that, or they might actually know, might not know, depends on what the case might be, that what was owed is not being reduced. When you're doing interest only, you are only paying the interest that's on the property, on the loan that you took. You're not reducing the loan. All right. So she could try to then get a mortgage. But the problem is she's 60 years old now. She has 5 more years on her mortgage. If she decided to stay for the next 5 years and she still hasn't paid off, she can't take any other mortgage beyond another 5 years because she's approaching 70 years, right? In UK, when you get to 70 years, obviously no mortgage for you anymore. So but in our case, if she was to stay and carry on this way, it means she could, what it means that she could then, she only has 5 more years to pay off a mortgage still. So it's going to be a similar situation that she is right now. Now, so now this is now the issue. Now, what would then happen is, as she's panicking and thinking about what she could do, when you're getting closer to the end of the term of your mortgage, now what the bank will do is they will send you a reminder, to just remind you what is owed, what has been paid, your mortgage term is about to come to an end and all of that. So Ms. Z saw this and she was already panicking that, what am I going to do? What would I do? The end of the term of the loan is still is coming there, and then the property is still being owed. So what the bank would do, if she couldn't do anything within the next 5 years, what would then happen is, after the bank have gone through the process of it, they will then take the case to the court to give them the order for them to repossess the property. Now, the interesting thing about this whole repossession is that the bank do not actually want our property. The banks do not want your property. So if you are faced with repossession, the banks are not after that property. Why? Because it's a liability for them. It's an issue for them. Well, first they need to look for tenants. They need to, if it needs work to be done on it, all those things that are attached to property, they do not want to have to do that. So what they want to do is they want to sell it quick so that they can get the money that was owed on the property. Now, in this scenario, let's assume that the value of the property stays as 270,000 pounds, and now let's say it's 2025, for example, right now. So and the property is being repossessed or whatever it is. What would then happen is when the bank take the property back, now what was owed in this scenario of Ms. Z was 168,239. What would then happen is the bank would take the property to the auction with the aim of achieving that figure, right? including any costs that they've actually incurred, the cost of taking, taking to court, having to send people out to repossess the property, and all of that, So they will sell it around 170, between 170 and 175. Why? Because they don't care about it. All they want is their money back. Now, what then happened in this scenario is, all this while that Ms. Z has been saving, I've bought the property, putting all our sweat into property, thinking that, all right, at least I have a property either I'm going to pass on to the next generation or I'm going to stay in there to retire. And then obviously she's also, she had valuers come in and say the property is going on in value and everything. As of 2000, and let's just say 2000, let's use the value, the equity as of 2020, right? Now, so she has 101,706 pounds in equity on the property. Now, when the property was repossessed, the banks, like I said earlier, are not after the property. They just want their money. They will sell it cheap to cover all their, to recover all the money that was owed them, right? And then guess what? Miss Z will now lose out on all the equity that have been built over these years on this property. This is terrible, right? But for the person that buys the property, it's a good news because they buy it at cheaper rate for 170,000 or 175, whatever it is. But then obviously they will be the one that will start benefiting from this equity on that property. Now, that's the issue. That's the problem. How can we help you to avoid this? How can we stop this? What can we do so that the 101,000 pounds, which was the equity, wouldn't have gone to loss, and then the lady will be left with nothing? There are solutions which have actually implemented and we've used with our clients, and they're really happy right now. So I'm gonna share 4 solutions on this video. There are other ways we could go about it, but I'm going to focus on 4. Now, the first one is, what we could do is, so in 2020 we could come in and say, all right, we can pass on that property which was owned by Ms. Z, and then pass it on to a family member. 2 things: you save on inheritance tax, and then the second thing, the chances of the property being repossessed is no longer there. Now, when I'm saying we're going to pass it on to a family member, it's going to have to be someone that is credible and someone that we know can take the mortgage on that property. So not someone at 60 years old, but maybe someone a bit younger, a lot younger, so they can actually have more time to pay off that mortgage. All right. So the second one is, we could actually work with you to get cash buyers. So we have portfolios of cash buyers. Like I said earlier, I'm a property investor and also have access to other property investors like myself, which I sourced property for, something like similar to this. So we can get cash buyers to come in. Now, when we get cash buyers to come in, remember the property is worth 270,000 pounds in the scenario that I gave earlier, right? And the bank, let's just round it up to 170,000 pounds. That's what was owed the bank. So we have 100,000 pounds on this. So what we could do, when we find a cash buyer, we'll sell the property to the cash buyer, discounted, and at least there'll be at least 80,000 pounds or even more that we can get back, and then she can move on to another property. The property will not be repossessed. The buyer will move happy and say, I'm happy, I've got the property. And then the person who owns the property will walk away with that cash without losing it. We can also work with first-time buyers. I'm going to be doing videos on this as well, with first-time buyers, how we can get properties at cheaper ways and cheaper properties that will make it easier for first-time buyers. Now, let's assume this property, which is 270,000 pounds, right? Now, let's assume we have a cash buyer that has been looking to buy property in the same location where the property is. right? And the cash buyer have been, sorry, the first time rather, have been saving money all this while. And they, property prices keep going up and everything. Each time you save £20,000, the property, by the time you save all 20,000, is moved up. You save to 22,000 pounds when the property is 22,000, 220,000 or whatever it is moved up. So what would then happen is this will give an incentive to first-time buyers that wants to buy similar property in that location, but they couldn't afford it. They've saved £25,000, right? Because when they first saw that location, the property they saw in that location was £250,000. But now the property is now worth £270,000. What we'll then do is we'll create like a win-win for every party here. We'll find first-time buyers and say, right, you've saved £25,000. You can't afford to buy property in this area because the property, the lowest one for this property is £270,000. What we'll then do is we'll work with the owner of the property, because the property was about to be repossessed anyways. We can then negotiate down to accept £250,000. So they make that sacrifice of leaving the £20,000, so as not to lose the £100,000 which they had an equity on. So they end up with £80,000. The first time buyer is happy because they get a property at discount price of which they would have paid £270,000 for. They are able to go into the property market. You solve an issue there, and then you yourself, that actually the property was about to repossess, will walk away with the equity. The bank will be happy because you paid off their loan. Everybody's happy. Another thing we could do, which is the fourth one, is to sell the property in auction. Now, we will not get the actual £270,000 when we go to auction, but because we are not we're not like the banks, we just want to take out what was owed. Would work with you to ensure that we get as much as we can from the auction, right? In this scenario, we could get at least, let's say, 230 or thereabouts. And then that the property, at least you pay the what was owed the bank, the lender, and then you come out with an equity. So these are 4 ways we could work with you to help you to stop your property from being repossessed. There are other ways that we could do as well, and I hope this is really helpful. So if you really want to get in touch with us, this our website here is www.ellsworthproperties.co.uk. We are here. We can help. You can go on Facebook as well, and we have a page there. It's Ellsworth Properties Ltd. So if you type those words, search word on Facebook, will come up, and you can reach out from there as well. We are also on LinkedIn, Ellsworth Properties. So if you go on LinkedIn, you'll see us there. And I hope this is really helpful to you. So we look forward to hearing from you, and also to help you out with your property. All the best. God bless.